Good afternoon. I'll try that again. Good afternoon. It is just such a pleasure for me to be here today. Thanks, John. Thanks, Chris. Thank you all for inviting me to be here. It is perhaps a truly special moment because it allows me to come back and speak in my homeland. Although you perhaps hear just the American, I actually did grow up in Hampshire, in Barton-on-Sea and the New Forest, and went to the University of Birmingham, as John said, and then went over to the University of California, Los Angeles, for actually just 1 year. That turned into 2, it turned into 3, and a couple of decades later, I would say that Southern California is perhaps my home away from home. But it is truly a great pleasure to be back here today to talk about something that is pretty passionate to me, IT, innovation, helping student success on our campuses. It's a passion of my president, what you would refer to as our executive vice chancellor. It's a passion for my cabinet colleagues on campus, and we are happy to be able to share the story that we are moving forward with. So California State University system, one of the largest systems certainly in the United States, is comprised of 23 campuses spread around the state, as you see. We serve over 450,000 students and a large number of faculty and staff. You perhaps see Northridge down here. We are in the northwest part of the Los Angeles County. There actually are 5 CSU campuses just within the LA County area. So there's a lot of students, a lot of universities within the California region. We serve currently over 41,000 students. This was our student population last semester, our largest student body to date, largely undergraduate. About 10% or so live on campus, the rest are commuters, and that comes up in some of our support needs for our students, of course. But what I'm here to talk about today is really what we refer to as student success, and so wanted to make sure that I was clear about what we really meant about that on our campus. It's largely about increasing our graduation rate. And so we think of our students in the United States as typically graduating within a minimum of 4 years, which I know is longer than perhaps the 3 years that many of your institutions look at for an undergrad. But 4 years is pretty much the minimum. We have students that largely are supporting their own way. We have about 90% of our students are what are called Pell Grant eligible, meaning that they're eligible and typically do rely on grants and loans to be able to get through college. In addition, most of them have 1 job, many have 2. Some have 3. So there is a lot of balancing that the students are doing to be able to get through college. So what we're trying to do is to come up with some means to be able to help our students graduate within as close to the 4 years as they can. Where that needs to be 5 years, sometimes 6, we understand that, but we're looking for ways to really increase the graduation rate, get more of them through in the 4-year time frame. Balanced with that, we look at retention. And so I know many of you are looking at this too, that the notion that one thing for a student to go to the first year, the freshman year, but you want them to be able to go home for the summer and come back for the second year. And so what are things that one can do to really increase that retention rate? And of course, retention first year to second year to third, all helps the overall graduation rate of trying to get the students successfully through with knowledge to become an employable working member of, in our case, the state of California. So we have been looking very intently at ways that we can be leveraging technology to be able to help the student success. So it's not about the technology, it's about leveraging it to help other things happen on campus. And that happens in a few ways. So let me just share a couple of slides that talk about some of those. And as always, we'll start with how we're specifically helping students. And we're providing them some technology tools to help them plan out their degree progress, to really understand what's a course sequence that would make sense for their major if they're in a 4-year plan versus a 5-year plan. What are some planning tools as they are actually thinking of enrolling classes for the next semester or the next term? How can they be leveraging and fitting that in around perhaps their work schedule or around their commuting schedule? So tools that just allow them to be doing some drag and drop, to be able to really map out their courses. Of course, like many of the tools that we provide our students, there are benefits that we have as administrators. So the more we have our students plan out their course load, the more we can anticipate and see the courses that they're about to take, and we can then plan accordingly and sort of anticipate that we're actually going to need more of Biology 107 2 semesters from now in a size classroom that's larger than we'd had last semester. And so the whole thing sort of comes back around and helps us in spades. We're also, as the last bullet shows, we're really thinking about helping our students consider careers. And it's not just career planning for once they've graduated. It's also internships, it's mentorships, it maybe is finding a campus job or a professional job while they're on campus. So connecting the dots there too through technology solutions, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. We're obviously looking at leveraging technology for faculty too. And so we're particularly helping support faculty who are looking to either use tools that they found or that we have available for them that really align with and complement and build on the pedagogy that they are wanting to bring to the student classroom and beyond, to really help the students learn in new ways. And so I'll share a couple of examples of that today. In addition to students and faculty, we also spend a lot of our time providing tools, new technology tools for helping advisors. So we may have faculty advisors, we also have professional advisors to really help steer students through their academic career, to really identify a student that's getting a little off track. We try not to call them at-risk students, though I think if I shared that with many of you, you'd understand what we mean. But we want to be able to identify these students as early as possible, not just as early as possible in the whole academic 3 or 4 years, but as early as possible each term or each semester. Because if you can catch that early and be able to help in some way, then you can keep them on track, and again, you're helping to get to the improved graduation rate. And it may not just be academic advising. It may be a faculty member or an advisor that's catching something with a student, but it may well be that they need to be able to transfer and point the student over to maybe a financial aid piece over in the financial aid department, or it may be a health issue over to our student health center, or it may be a housing issue, or it may be a family ailment and we need to be able to help the student take some leave of absence. So there's a lot of this transitioning from point A to point B on campus that are in different divisions, in different parts of the organization. We're utilizing technology to be able to just go back and forth and be able to communicate, and the whole record is linked to the student, and we can see how we're helping the student move forward. We're also looking at predictive analytics to really look at the types of populations that are traditionally and significantly prone to attrition. And again, the sooner we can really hone in on those particular students and help guide them through, sometimes doing them as that particular cohort is really helpful to be able to then have some special attention given to some of those cohorts and be able to bring them through. But it may be based on historical knowledge that of our students and data that we've mined and analyzed from that allows us to then apply to our current students and be able to help map their path through more successfully for graduation. So that's sort of the abstract, but I love to talk about the reality of some specific initiatives that we've done, so I thought I'd share a few with you here today. It won't surprise you to know that millennials love their smartphones. You all know that. I love this chart, one of series from Klein Perkins. And 87% of millennials here, they define them as 18 to 34-year-olds in the US, said that their smartphone never leaves their side night or day. I think many of us that have had children go through college know that that is pretty accurate. We certainly see it on our campuses. And no surprise, perhaps, to you that one of our earlier focuses on technology, getting it some technology in the hands of students, focused on a mobile app. So we came up a few years ago with deciding that we really wanted to have a mobile app. Largely, we had our students in our annual IT survey telling us over and over that they really wanted to have certain functionality. These that you see listed here are the ones that they actually asked for the most, and so we tried to be responsive where we can and put those in right off the bat. And within we actually launched 2 days before the fall semester. Our president announced it in her annual address. Within a couple of days, we had 7,000 students on the mobile app, and we had about 20% of those students just in the first week were using it to enroll in classes. So although many of them have enrolled in classes prior to the actual semester start, there's some churn, there's some changing of classes. They can actually waitlist in certain classes if they want to change into a different time slot, and it will automatically fill you into that role. So saw this as an immediate need. Wonderful. We saw right away we were getting feedback both to the university and within the app. They seemed to like what we were providing. The map was useful. We've certainly, any full semester, we've got about 20,000 students on one day of class, the first day, all milling around the campus. So a map online was a tremendous help. But of course, immediately, well, that's great, but what's next? So we just kept on going, and we have done ever since. So that was fall of 2013. Fast forward, every few months we're adding more functionality into the mobile app. We're actually the first of the CSU campuses to both allow students to enroll in their courses linked to their Oracle. You know, we've got an Oracle PeopleSoft ERP system behind the scenes, but they're doing all of this interaction in a very intuitive mobile interface on the phone, and we let them, they really wanted to be able to pay for those courses at the same time, rather than have to go somewhere else to be able to deal with payment, and so we added that. We've added all of our dining facilities, you know, a lot of the usual suspects. We wanted to be able to reach out to prospective students and families that were coming with their prospective students to campus, and so added campus tours. We not only found that students wanted the outdoors maps, but they, of course, wanted to know where Baramium Hall 250B was located within the campus, and so we started adding indoor floor plans. More on that in a minute. And we have a series of campus shuttle buses that go around campus, particularly linking our campus housing to the main part of campus. So we loaded iPad GPS type systems into the buses, and the students can see them move around the little H that you see on the line there. It moves along, and the students can see when the buses are about to arrive. We also, we sort of took a pause at that point and asked students what next things that they'd like to see. And they certainly rely on the Oracle PeopleSoft student system for a lot of their interactions. And they asked if we could just bring more of those screens and the information that's there over into a mobile app. And so I already alluded to the fact that so many of our students are receiving some form of financial aid award. And so this is an example of where we took the screen that you see on the left and pulled in essence, it's the same information but being rendered in a mobile friendly way on the right. Similarly, we always want to be having emergency contact information for our students up to date. Yes, they can do that from a computer in their regular student system, but the more that we make this at their fingertips where they're using the systems where they can make that change so simply, we're hoping that that will allow the students to keep that kind of really important information that's important to us as administrators, that the students will really keep that up to date. Of course, many of these have this wonderful benefit of benefiting faculty and staff too, and the mobile app certainly used across the whole campus. It allowed us to, for example, sunset our paper phone directory. Yay! We don't sunset many things. John talked about, we're always adding more things. We're upgrading. We're doing more. It's really hard to sunset. But the paper phone directory and the modem pool are probably two of the ones that we've been able to sunset in the last couple of years. So our mobile app looks about like this now. This was, I think, a few weeks ago, and we're still adding more. The sorts of things that we're adding now are more notifications. So students are asking for, can you notify me when the grades are posted so I don't have to remember what day that is? Can you tell me when payments are due? And some of this may sound as if we're really perhaps overly helping students. We're talking to some folks yesterday about how, that's not really the real world. And it may not be, and this may not be what all of your students would need, but it seemed to be something that was going to help bring our students along the pathway to be able to help them through this stage in their academic career. And so we really want to be able to do some things that will help them be successful, so that by the time they leave our campus, they certainly don't need as much, certainly hand-holding or sort of pointing to some of this. But we also are going to put up food specials. We're putting in iBeacons, so you'll go into a particular food restaurant and it'll come up with a special of the day notified on your phone, similar with the bookstore. We also have a lot of information in the app for particular events, whether it's new student orientation or parents' day or something like that. We also, you think you've done one thing with an outdoor map and one with an indoor map, but guess what? They want them fully integrated, so when you walk from the outside to the inside, it'll show you on the indoor map which entrance you've come into, so that you will then know where you're maneuvering on the inside floor plan. So that's one of the upcoming pieces that we have. So this is all fine for the mobile app, but we really wanted to bring mobility into the classroom too. And so we launched what we have referred to as myCSUNtablet. And I'd love to just share a little bit about our iPad initiative with you this afternoon.
A great thing about the iPad is that I could use it anywhere, anytime, and do just about anything with it.
I use my iPad to take notes, to record lectures. In my biochem class, if we need to take a picture of, let's say, a gel or something like that, then we just use the iPad.
I like how when the teacher is talking about DNA molecules, I'm able to go onto my app and actually see the 3D image of it and see the different sides and angles.
So if you have an e-book, like for your textbook, you can highlight in it, you can annotate, you can bookmark the page that you're on.
It really is more than a book. It's a multimedia tool, and you can head out in different directions. You can have your own content your own photograph, the interactive exercises, and bring it all together in one space so that students can engage in the content in multiple ways.
I'm teaching untethered, and what that means is I'm not attached to anything. My iPad and I can walk around the room, and I can change my slides, I can draw on my slides, I can actually talk to students, show them something, ask them to draw on my iPad, and it shows up on the screen. So having the iPad gives me more interaction with students.
I did an assessment in the class where I gave a traditional lecture, just me drawing but not asking them to do anything. And then we did a problem together, and then after traditional lecture with just drawing on the iPad, less than 40% got all the points for that problem. And then after I had them practice, over 90% got all the points for that problem. I think the students are excited about being more involved in their learning also. I'm certainly the most excited, especially since I can see from these assessments that it's working, that all this time and effort that we're stepping out of our comfort zone to do new things, that it's actually helping the students. And so that's the best part of this whole thing.
So the goals of our myCSUNtablet, which we launched a few years ago, were really threefold. So the three that you see here: increasing student learning and engagement, both in the classroom and in other learning environments; increasing the quality of teaching materials, whether those are e-text or apps or others; and either decreasing or keeping consistent student cost. This was a one-to-one deployment, so it meant for the majors that chose to launch into this mode, they offered both iPad and non-iPad courses, and faculty were provided iPads, faculty and staff supporting them were provided iPads. The students purchased their own iPads. And because it was them purchasing it, we made a very concerted effort to say that there was going to be a promised minimum of 3 course sequence. So if a student had the funds, which as they do, to be able to buy their textbooks through 3 courses in a row, we were saying if you buy the iPad, we will promise you that the cost of the iPad and the e-text and the apps will be lower if, or potentially the same as if you bought textbook for 3 courses in a row. We actually helped the students with funding. If they wanted to spread the purchase of the iPad over 3 semesters, we helped them with that. As a university, some of our students took us up on that. So we had, we reached out to across the university and actually had a faculty retreat, and the president offered to really provide extensive support to faculty who are interested in doing this type of work. If they were interested, we would provide, through our Faculty Technology Center in IT, we would provide the support to help them be successful. We had about 70 faculty raise their hands right off the bat. We were pretty surprised. And we were one of the first universities to deploy a one-to-one that was multiple majors at the same time. So you talk to Campus X or Y around the country in the United States, and they were deploying it as a pilot for journalism or a pilot for something over here. We actually launched with 8 majors at the same time, which added some challenges, but it also added had lots of opportunities in that how journalism was actually deploying was different from some of the tools and the methods that biology or physical therapy or psychology were looking at, and so we were able to really blend the experiences that these different faculty were having. We've had about 12,000 students enrolled in iPad courses to date, and adding more all the time. I don't expect you to study this slide. It was just a placeholder to show that there was a lot of behind-the-scenes support that went on to launching this. We actually asked the faculty if they were interested in January. We launched our first courses with these 8 majors in August for the fall semester. That was a pretty short time frame to be able to get all of that needs to happen behind the scenes. This is checking an app for disability reasonableness. Is does it work with gestures? Can you magnify? And we sort of tried to help faculty with a yes, no, and then if it didn't, we would help come up with an accommodation for students that particularly needed to be able to wanted to be able to join that class. We also expanded to athletics right away. We provided iPads to athletes as they were going on the road. They could choose to have a laptop or an iPad. Guess what? Those laptops weren't used at all. And suddenly our advisors and particularly our faculty advisors for our athletes were advising in whole new ways with the iPads. We won't surprise you, this picture probably you all say were the other two devices as well, right? So the days of just one device per student are long, long, long ago. We had already had a pretty dense Wi-Fi environment throughout the campus, both in the classrooms and outside the classrooms, in other places where the students study or congregate. But the myCSUNtablet generated even more. And so what we ended up with was maybe a couple of 150-seat classrooms back to back, where the instructors might be saying, I need you to upload something right now, all 150 of you at exactly the same time, or do a quiz at exactly the same time. And boom, that has an impact on your Wi-Fi that is a little different from just general use by 150 over a course of an hour or so. So we've accommodated for that and sort of added an additional level of density of Wi-Fi for myCSUNtablet classrooms that we hope to expand to all over time. Extensive amount of time spent on faculty professional development. Ranging from tablet academies, we already provide a lot of course redesign academies for faculty throughout the year and throughout the summer months in our Faculty Technology Center. We expanded those and made some that were unique to faculty teaching in a tablet course and talking about the technologies that could be used. We each major identify a faculty member for some release time to be a liaison for the faculty sort of in situ in the different colleges. And we really facilitated and encouraged quite a bit of faculty peer-to-peer mentoring. In fact, during our tablet academies, we almost always will bring in faculty who have been teaching out in our tablet courses and have them come in and teach along with my team that are there. So I am often quoted because about branding and marketing, because I'll say, whoever thought the CIO was going to be in the marketing business, but I am, big time. And so there is not much point in developing a whole lot of wonderful tools and services and programs for our students if, in fact, they don't know about them. And so how do they get to know about them? And email, as we know, is not the way that we should be communicating with our students. And so we come up with all kinds of different ways. We're finding that, in fact, lawn signs, signs that we have to get permission to actually stick in on posts into the lawn when students are wandering around campus, is an incredibly effective model. Who would have ever thought? But it ranges from certainly a lot of social media, a lot of some advertising in some of the student newspaper, which also has television screens across campus, and a whole lot of other ways. This is an example of a hoodie backpack that we gave out to students who bought their iPads in the bookstore, and was incredibly popular, and there was a great sense of pride of wearing that as they went to their iPad classes. So what is it like in the classroom? What are these experiences like? And it really is a different active type of learning environment. Has gone to some extent from passive absorption to active engagement, but better than me talking about it, let me share this.
I teach introductory biology, Biology 106, which focuses on ecology, evolution, and biodiversity. I realized as I started to teach this class, and I started in the traditional way using PowerPoint lectures, that when I projected an image that contained pictures that look sort of like trees, so it's the evolutionary relationship depicted in a tree form, the students turned off. They were overwhelmed with the amount of information that I was throwing at them. The first time I taught with an iPad, I had this sort of moment of discovery where I realized that if we do it together, we can really break it down, and it demystifies the process for them. And I find that if they build their own tree, they start to understand that tree.
I'm Stevie. I am a peer learning facilitator. I took Dr. Robertson's class last fall. I take the students down to the Botanic Garden, and they bring their iPads so that they can take photos of the different plants that are examples of the things that they need to know.
Using the iPad, though, opens up this experience to really engage the student in learning and understanding plants in a deeper dimension.
I think it's very useful in comparison to like, oh, drawing it out. That would take a lot of time, while like you just, with an iPad, just take a picture of it.
You have everything on the app, and you're going back and forth to the slides, making notes on it, making highlighting.
It's much easier. Like, we don't have to hold the book and like, you know, do it. It's amazing. Yeah.
This kind of active learning is rewarding for me as an instructor because it creates an enriched classroom for the students. I see that they are actively participating. They take pride in their work, showing me that they are excited and engaged in the course.
So we often say that students can no longer escape learning, and we're feeling some of that in some of these classrooms. This chart at the bottom of the page here is a really great app. It allows faculty members teaching in the classroom to give a quick spot quiz and immediately get feedback. Each one of those little squares is a seat in the classroom, and they immediately get feedback. Is the student really engaged and following along with what I'm saying right now? So green is yes they do, and brown is yes they're not, and gray is who knows. They're not really with you. So, but that also actually helps. Some of the faculty are talking, they were talking about untethered teaching earlier on one of the videos. It actually allows the faculty member to cruise around that part of the classroom a little bit more if they're working in an untethered way. So we've also introduced paperless exams, part of our sustainability initiative too, so we like that. It needed to be cheat-proof, of course, and so tried out several different software packages, have ended up with one at the moment that I think we quite like, and it allows the student next to you is taking the same questions but in a different random sequence, so you wouldn't be taking the class at the question at the same time. But also, if the student goes to the internet on their iPad, guess what? Instant fail. That doesn't happen very often. The students get it, that was not a good way to go. So but these software packages are, the apps are becoming more useful. Some are pretty expensive, so we are sometimes balancing a really wonderful app that we'd love to have, but that it really isn't something that we can afford to buy for an institution where everything that we're buying is times 41,000 students, and so instead we're often trying to balance some of that. I will say that a project of this magnitude, particularly when we went from January to August, it was a project that encompassed every different aspect of our university community. Probably more than we felt for a project that I've been involved with in all of the 10 years that I've been at Northridge. And others of my cabinet members said the same thing. The project was actually co-sponsored by the provost and myself, and all of the vice presidents were involved in some aspect of all of this and feeding through the organization. There was a sense of this was an initiative that we, the university, were providing for our students, and we were going to do all we could to make it work. So that involved a whole lot of nimbleness, because it wasn't perfect from the first first day. And so we would come up with something and say, gosh, this is strange, how do we adjust this? And we'd adjust it, and that would impact somebody else, and so we'd be moving along. But there was a combined collaborative ownership for this that was pretty exciting to see. The project continues, the initiative continues, but we don't think of it as myCSUNtablet initiative anymore. It really has moved towards a content creation aspect of supporting an iPad initiative. So I thought I'd share a little about that. E-text, obviously, a big portion of the content on an iPad. We had some faculty that had already been working on e-text. Some chose to take their traditional textbook, and we offered a parallel initiative with some release time to encourage those faculty to move their material over into an e-text format. We also had some e-texts that were born digital. They'd never existed any other way, and the faculty member was just so excited about the idea to be able to have this interactive product available in an e-text format. So this is physical therapy.
So we have a doctorate in physical therapy program. It's a 3-year doctorate program where the student is learning to be a physical therapist. So what I would do is I would have a binder. And so the binder would be very thick, and it would show all the techniques. There's pictures, but that's basically it. So what I did with my iPad is I created an iBook. So whereas before, let's say they would have multiple binders of all their techniques, now it's in one source, and it allows them to have different mediums to facilitate their learning.
Using the iBook is very helpful because we have the video of our professor doing what she wants us to do. You can't get that out of a book, but in the iBook, it's right there for you.
A lot of times the person that's acting as the patient will be holding the iPad, so they'll be on the table and someone will be working on them, reading step by step what the person's doing, and then the person who's acting as the therapist can also check it out as they're going along and make sure that they're doing everything in the right order, right hand placement and everything.
It works really well because when they're in this small group, maybe they have a question that I'm on the other side of the room, I can't come in and answer them right away. So they can then go onto their iPad and watch the technique or read the description or look at the picture, and it helps them figure it out in their group on their own without me having to come over and be there physically to show them how to do it.
So over the summer I was working on my internship, and I was very curious about how to do something. So I went and looked at my iPad and looked it up on the iBook, and I was like, oh, perfect, that's what it is. Watched the video really fast, and then started treating my patient from there.
I think it's really helping the student learn the material quickly and synthesizing it quicker than we used to in the past. So they're coming more prepared. They have the source to do that now. So I think they're learning it a lot more thoroughly and comprehensively, I think, now with using the iPad.
So it's not just e-text, it's apps too. And where you may say, well, there's so many apps out there in the app stores, you know, there must be everything that you would ever wish. We were actually finding that faculty were coming back to us at the Faculty Technology Center and saying that they wanted to have a particular app focus on a particular content piece to help their students sort of practice that muddiest point. So whether it, you know, if it was something that the student could do in some form of a repetitive type way, they could maybe do it when they're standing in line at the doctor's office, whatever that would be. So we embraced that and said, great, let's give this a try. And so we just have pulled together the faculty that raised their hands saying, yes, could we help them create a curriculum app. We went out and hired students from, yes, computer science, but also art and videography and design, and then pulled together with our instructional designers and have generated a series of apps, and we have more queued up to come on in. Our first ones are in the store, the Apple Store. We have one that's for our upper division biology students, talking about advanced concepts in Mendelian genetics. And it's a whole series of quizzes and problem solving that sort of takes you through it. It's not what is this, it just is engaging. And then this one that's about, ironically, worms inside of beetles. Who knew? But they are there, and this little app has a lot of visual pieces to go with it. So we knew with 41,000 students that we had a lot of students that could help us work and create these apps. But we weren't quite sure how to find them. We obviously post in the usual places to hire students, but we really wanted to unearth where some of the great talent was across campus. So we decided that we would try a pretty innovative way to go about that, and we launched last year, this time last year, our first App Jam competition. So a mobile app competition that really allowed us to identify the talent, but also allowed our students to really work in a team and engaging competitive aspect of their study. It wasn't part of their academic curriculum. It was above and beyond. Let me show you a little bit about what it looked like. This is last year. Marketing, you gathered this, right? There's a little theme here, perhaps. But again, students loved it. They absolutely embraced it. We launched it in January, held it in March last year, so we were thrilled that we were able to get enough of the word out that we had 24 teams compete last year. UCarpool app was one of them that we are working to incorporate into our app. And in fact, this one, the other winning safety app, is actually going to go into the CSUN mobile app in the next couple of months. So, and any of you can download the CSUN mobile app if you're interested in taking a look. You won't be able to obviously log in, but you can access many of the pieces that are in there, and you'll be able to see this in the next month or so. So, were we going to do it again? You bet. But we continue looking for ways to continually improve. We have made a few tweaks to it this year. The kickoff was the week before I left to come out here, and I have to tell you, the weeks are a blur because it's all one big jet lag, right? But we held our opening kickoff session, and we have 56 teams this year show up. So we are thrilled that the students are responding. You never really know. You don't know whether it's going to go from 24 down to 0 or whether it's going to expand. So it's a great day when they show, and we've made a few changes this year, and I'll share those with you.
Sign up by March 3rd to join AppJam 2016. Team up with at least one other CSUN student and use your skills in graphic design, gaming, storyboarding, programming, and market research to design a working prototype of a mobile app that solves a real-life problem that applies on the campus or your community. AppJam submissions will be judged on innovation, market potential, and user experience. Enter to win cash prizes and startup consulting to take your app to the next level. So sharpen your skills, gather your team, and sign up for CSUN AppJam 2016. Think fast, win big.
So what was really exciting this year is that in addition to a financial prize for the winning teams, we were able to reach out and partner with the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce, their startup innovative group, innovation and technology group, and with the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator Group that also has a relationship with our campus, and they have offered this startup incubator consulting time for the top winners of this time around. The students get it. This time around they'll be able to take their app and really be able to take it to market, and it's going to be pretty exciting to see where we're going to go with this. So more on that in just a moment. But I think you probably gather our students are creating some great work, but the question is, where do they show that besides a resume and a CV? Because it is all about trying to connect with either employers that you're trying to have on campus or employers for the future. So one of our recent initiatives, we just started this last semester, is we've rolled out e-portfolios for all of our students, and in fact all of our alumni too. But for all of our students, which is largely where my team stays focused, we're really helping the students have a place to be able to showcase their best work. Think of it as sort of a cross between Facebook and LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, students feel is really not necessarily relating to them. They want to be able to put in images. They want to link to videos. They want to have more of a visual aspect of their work. They do have the meta tags, the skills list that you see there on the left. And it really provides some proof of competencies through some work examples. So it may be projects that they've done within their coursework. It could be community service. It could be a summer job. It could be a miscellaneous of pieces that are there. And it's allowing students to connect with employers and with internship opportunities.
You've done some great work here at CSUN. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a way that your projects could help you find a job after graduation? Well, now there is. Introducing Portfolium. Portfolium is an online digital portfolio used by schools and businesses across the country where you can show what you've accomplished at CSUN while building a professional online presence that can enhance your career success. You can connect with people, network with thousands of companies like Disney, Nike, Google, and Apple, as well as search and apply for jobs directly on the site. CSUN also offers challenges through Portfolium, where you can submit your work and compete for money and other prizes in categories like entrepreneurship, community service, and app development. So what are you waiting for? Portfolium. Create a next-generation resume.
So we launched this last spring, have had a competitive challenge each month to try and get the word out to students, because we really felt going viral was probably one of our best ways to get the word out. And we are already over a third of our students have engaged and entered into the system here. Many of us on campus are actually employers going in as employers, as we're looking for some of our student hires to be able to go in and say we're looking for students in this particular major or with these particular competencies, and looking to be able to work in this time frame. So it's pretty exciting. We try and link technologies where we can. So here's one where we have App Jam 2016 that I shared is going on for the current month of March. The final product is a working prototype, so it doesn't have to be a fully programmed, ready-to-market mobile app, but it needs to be a great, more than a proof of concept, and certainly have marketing and vision associated with that working prototype. But they have to produce a 2-minute video as part of that. You saw that mentioned, and that video has to be uploaded into Portfolio. So their final App Jam deliverable, they have certain deliverables through the month, but the final one is to provide a video within the and upload it into Portfolio. So we hope that will just further increase the vision and knowledge and awareness of Portfolio, the e-portfolio. You can all be a part of this too. We are actually opening it up and having a popular vote part of the App Jam competition this year. So as the students when they upload their final videos, they will be available on March 28th and 29th. For those of you that would like to go in, you can log in without. You just have to sign into Portfolio, but if you're signed in, you don't have to be a CSUN person, so we're trying to actually get the LA community to be a part of this as well. And using the hashtag AppJam2016, you can go on and like the videos that you like the best. So I will hope that some of you will be out there looking in on the 28th and 29th of the month. So I've given you a glimpse of some of the technologies that we have underway here at CSUN, really thinking about how they can help our students succeed. It is pretty massive as an undertaking and really can't happen on a university campus, from my perspective, unless you have a culture of innovation on your campus. So I thought I'd end with a few closing thoughts around that. First, from an information technology CIO perspective, I have to say that it's an endless balancing act between keeping the trains running on time over here with the real need and actual want to be able to pushing out IT innovation. So there's the status quo of, yes, we have to, nobody on our campuses wants to talk to us if the network's down, if the Wi-Fi is not working, if your learning management system's not there, if the president can't get her email, that's not a good day. And in fact, if you can't get to a maturity level of IT that allows that to be robust and secure and reliable, you really can't go into the innovation part. John mentioned that just earlier today, and I didn't know he was going to say that. So, but it really is, from our perspective, for many of you in your roles on your campuses, it's really the balance of that. You have to get the status quo going before you can move forward with the innovation and allow people to really want to meet you in that. From a university-wide perspective, you really need to have leadership, executive leadership on your campus. Understand that innovation at its very core is risky. Some of these initiatives will fail. Some of these pilots will fail. That's a reason one might do a small pilot as opposed to being this big off the ground. You're actually throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing which of it's going to stick, and when it does, how does that need to be evolved to be able to move forward and scale up. And so we are forever in discussions about that. I am just really thrilled to have a leadership team work around me that really understands this notion. And you know, nobody wants to see failure, but there's an understanding that one needs to learn from failure to be able to move on and just be even better. I truly believe that one needs to know what's out there. There's no resting on your laurels. It's not good that you did this yesterday and you did this today and last semester and this semester, but it's all about what's coming down the turnpike. So really keeping an eye on what's out there, the next couple of years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and what does one use to really make sure that you're aware of some of the ideas that are out there, maybe within higher education, sometimes outside of higher education, to blend that. And so we rely on Gartner quite a bit and look at those Gartner hype cycles and really sort of ponder a lot of that. If you haven't looked at New Media Consortium's Horizon reports, they're really interesting and a sort of an intellectual, interesting read. They have them for higher education. They have them, I think, for K through 12, for museums and libraries. They came out with the library one a year or so ago, which is also really interesting. But keeping an eye on the future and what's out there is really important. And then being very intentionally selective about which of those make the most sense for your institution. What works for my institution may not work for one of yours. What works for yours may not work for yours. It really thinking about and first of all understanding and being aware of your university's culture, thinking about your university goals. What is it that you're really looking to do? Where are your university executives? What are the things that make them tick? What's going to make them want to collaborate with you? None of this, of course, is about IT. This is all about being university-owned as a collective moving forward. And so to the extent that you look out and then very intentionally with colleagues across the institution really think about the initiatives that are the ones to think about from an innovations perspective, I really would say that's probably one of the big lessons learned for us. So I would just totally close by saying that despite all, thinking about all of this from the IT and the university-wide perspective, when it really comes down to it, at the end of the day, the reason that we and our campuses are really driving innovation is to help our students succeed. So thank you so much.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, absolutely fantastic. I was thinking there when Hilary was speaking that I've got some colleagues in the audience today and I can see they're going to give me a hard time when we get back to the office with regards to some of the innovation that we've seen here. So thank you for that, Hilary. One of the things that struck me was really the culture of engagement that you could see throughout a number of the slides there. That engagement between not only the students and their lecturers, but also between the technologists, the students and the lecturers, and I think that's a fundamental part of it. I think we've got a couple of minutes that we can maybe take some questions. Anybody got any questions they would like to ask Hilary while we have the opportunity? We have a microphone, so we'll bring the microphones around to you.
My name is George Ford from the University for Creative Arts. My question is, do you see a devolution of the need for the use of classrooms? So as your technology makes lessons more available electronically on iPads and so on, do you actually see the need for classrooms to diminish?
Unlike many other states within the United States, California actually is dealing with an over-enrollment problem at the moment. So many of our sister states are actually really struggling with getting enough students coming in. We have too many at the moment. And when we say too many, it means we'd love to take them, but the state doesn't have enough funding for us to be able to take them all. And so there's some 20,000 students in the CSU that can't come in a particular fall. So to the extent that we can sometimes, and there's no more money for more buildings, so we're sort of stuck with the status quo of our building facilities. So we see some of this as allowing us to make even more effective use of some of the spaces that we do have. So whether it's, so when we talk about some of our online course redesign initiatives, we do fully online. Yes, we have some of those, but more often than not, we actually have blended classroom environments where at least half of the coursework is taken in an online format. That allows us, if we're really nimble and agile and planful, to allow us to have two classes actually use the same physical space. And so that doesn't happen just by natural sort of selection. So it does require us to make sure that we've got biology faculty with a lab-type classroom, also aligned with another biology one, and having them both go to hybrid. So we've been looking at doing some of that. What we're really seeing, I think the iPads come to light, is allowing students to do more both within the classroom and outside. So you saw the biology example of going out to the botanical gardens. Journalism students are using the iPads as pop-up newsroom across the city. So they are going out and just using them and publishing right back from out there. So it's an extension, I think, that we're seeing more than we're looking at this totally reducing the number of classrooms. It's a change more than it's one or the other. But I'd be happy to talk to you a little bit more offline.
Perhaps take one more question, if that's okay. If there was one there, there's one here, I think.
Thank you. Very interesting. Upside down. Thank you. Very interesting. Interested to know how you manage data security with all that data being posted out to iPads and your students retaining it, your staff retaining it. What are you doing about data security?
Well, I worry. We actually have an information security audit that's going on my campus as we speak that came up after I knew I was coming out here. And so, data security is obviously, one of those big status quo. We've got to keep that on. It's critically important. The faculty, we use Moodle as our learning management system that I know some of you do. So I think you call it learning management system or something else?
Virtual learning environment.
Virtual learning environment. So we use Moodle for that, and we've tried to integrate a lot of the apps that are being used in the classroom within that. So because that environment allows the student to be able to upload and the faculty member to be able to post there, the student can be in the classroom and just upload straight into their Moodle environment that is authenticated. And so there's some security around that. Certainly, as we're looking at apps, the exam one was one of those that we really did worry that work and really spent time testing out many different apps to make sure that we felt good about that from an integrity standpoint, less perhaps from the security standpoint. But I think it's mostly that it's Moodle that they're using for the faculty graded pieces. So it's not as if it's going out into the sort of the open air or onto other systems that we wouldn't know about. So I think that would probably be the main way that we've done it. But if you've got something specific that you were thinking, I'll be around for the rest of the conference. Happy to chat.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Hilary Baker. Thank you very much. Thank you.